Faith Forged in Fire, where we dive headfirst into the unique challenges and triumphs that comes with being a firefighter, all while exploring what it means to live out a biblical worldview. Join us as we find hope, perseverance, and faith in the midst of the heat and chaos. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Faith Forged in Fire. Tonight it's going to be kind of a off-the-cuff thing.
Uh-oh.
It's going to be ask the chaplain / pastor some things.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
I got, 5 or 6 questions. It should be pretty easy for you. I tried to keep it light. If we get it a little heavy, then maybe we'll have to do another one next week on
I guess this is what happens heavier. When I leave chief in charge of the podcast.
Yeah, and to be honest, a lot of podcasts, I think, feed the questions to the victim or to the guy. And PJ honestly doesn't have an idea of one word that's written on this page of paper.
I don't. That's
None.
The fun of it.
And I like it because back when this first started, you were the one that was excited, and I was nervous. And
now I'm nervous.
Now you got Rich's boots on today. But you wanted to talk about something real quick.
Yeah.
First of all,
before we get started, it's really kind of a cool opportunity we have. We now have a sponsor. I have acquired a sponsor that's kind of a sponsor of all my overall digital ministry. So we have this podcast. If you listen to this podcast, thank you. If you watch on YouTube, thank you. But I also have my own YouTube channel. If you don't know that, go check it out. It's just find it at Joshua Putnam.
There's a link up here. Is this the right corner when you do the editing?
Yeah, but I don't do that. So I'll try to put a link down in the description.
That's down there. Okay,
yeah.
Perfect.
I'll put a link in the description for my YouTube channel. Also, I'll put a link down there. I have a Facebook page as well. So the sponsorship is kind of all encompassing. That's why when I tell you this, the benefit doesn't seem to go with this. If it'll make sense in a second. So this sponsorship I'm pretty excited about. It's a Christian company that's in our area, local. Mm-hmm. You and I have known the owner for a long time.
A great guy.
Yep. You've been good friends with him for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The company is Red Flannel Coffee. So we have this great opportunity to be sponsored by Red Flannel Coffee, a local company. The money is put to good things. It's owned by good Christian people who really, he has gotten behind my YouTube channel. He enjoys my YouTube content, and he has started watching and listening to this podcast. He is, for everybody on here, he is not now, but he is a former firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, Red Flannel Coffee, highly encourage you to go there. You can get, he's coming out with some new blends soon. He's got mugs, he's got stickers, he's got lots of different coffee. You can get it delivered right to your door. And if you put in, and this I'll put down in the description too, but if you put in the code PJ20, and that's why I said it doesn't fit with Faith Forged in Fire, but it's just for Pastor Joshua for my other stuff. If you put in the code PJ20, you'll get 20% off your first order.
And why in the world would you call it Red Flannel Coffee?
Good question, because he's in Cedar Springs, Michigan, which is Red Flannel Town.
That's right. Capital of the world.
Yeah.
Google that. There's a long story. We could probably do a podcast on that.
Yeah.
But, yep.
Yeah. If you're not from around here, Google Cedar Springs, Red Flannel Town and see what comes up.
Yep. Yeah. And even if you don't like coffee like me, I'm not a coffee guy, but the mugs are pretty cool. And just support Jake. He's a great guy. Yeah. He does so much for the community. And he's one of those people that doesn't brag about it.
Right.
I mean, you've probably seen him if you went to the Red Flannel Parade. He's the guy that one of the oddballs that has a parade that's just dedicated for bearded men.
Oh, yes, he did, didn't he? I forgot.
So he does that. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, he's a great guy in the community, helps out a lot.
And he has a nonprofit foundation that he and another friend of his started, and they supply schools, churches, other nonprofits with AEDs. We started looking for an AED at our church. He found out and gave us an AED. And I said, how do you fund this? And he said, well, a good portion of it is through Red Flannel Coffee. He said all his proceeds go back to that nonprofit. So you're helping. I think that fits great here because not only are you getting coffee, but you're also now helping put AEDs in schools and churches and other nonprofits. And in the first responder community, we understand the importance of that.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Is there some other things we can talk about so we don't have to get into this?
What would you like? I came up with, what did I say? 143 questions.
That sounds about right.
So however you want to do it. You want me to start at the top?
You bet.
They're random, like me. You know how I am. I kind of go down random rabbit holes quite often. So the first one is, let's say you're not a Christian and you've got thoughts of picking up the Bible and starting to read it. You've just, for something, God put this on your heart. You don't understand that he put it on your heart, but you're going like, I'd really like to read the Bible. Wonder what's in that. What is your recommendation to start?
Oh, that's a great question. There's two places. So go to the New Testament. So you said not a Christian, doesn't know the Bible. So I'm going to treat this because
what you know about Christianity is like what you've learned when you went with mom and dad to church for Christmas.
Sure. We'll say pick up a Gideon Bible in the hotel, right? Kind of thing.
Right.
So second half of the Bible is the New Testament in the book, right? When you pick up a book, second half is the New Testament. Go to the New Testament, in the very first part of the New Testament are what they call the Gospels, and they are accounts of Jesus' life. And there's two of them there that are really good to read. A good one to read is John. The book of John is great. John actually says in there that he specifically wrote these things so that you can believe that Jesus is the Son of God. So it's going to help you understand who Jesus is, why he came, the basis of Christianity, really. So that's great. Another real good one is the book of Mark, because Mark actually, in the way that it's written, if you have ADD, like you and I do sometimes,
like everybody in this room,
it's very quick moving and it just hits some of the highlights. And so it's a great one. So John or Mark, both in the New Testament, would be places to start. And I would say this, I'll say this as well. If you're watching this and you're serious, you're like, man, I do want to start doing that. Go to my YouTube channel. I actually have a playlist on there, a series that I have been working through for a long time now, but it's a verse by verse study through the book of John. And I've had a lot of people comment on there and say, I didn't even know where to start studying the Bible. And I found your videos and this has really helped me. So,
okay. No, I know that there's a bunch of different Bibles, King James Version. I mean, I'm not hip to all of those things like you are. And I know that some of them are pretty deep, and I can't say a foreign language, but it makes it difficult to read and understand.
Like a foreign language, yeah.
Is there one that you say would be more appropriate, not appropriate, but easier to read, makes it easier to understand? Because I understand that you could pick up some Bibles and you read it in the first verse, you're going like, I don't understand a word.
Right.
Is there one that, for lack of better things, dumb it down and make it a little more easy for to read and comprehend?
I wouldn't say dumb it. There are some that dumb it down, and I don't like the ones that dumb it down because they almost dumb it down too much.
Okay.
But there are versions that are easy to read that are not dumbed down, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That anybody could pick up and read. I'll give you maybe like three. Okay. And the first two are, if I were to pick one, I'm not sure which I would pick. So I'll give you the one I use and that we use in our church. At least this is kind of what I preach out of. And that's the ESV, the English Standard Version. So ESV. I really like that one. The other one is NASB. And then, and those two, they're pretty close. I think there's some things that are translated better in one than the other, but you could pick either one of those up. And now versions are a sticky thing because I guarantee you there's Christians out there that are like, they have very strong feelings on certain versions. But those versions, as far as I'm concerned, those are two of the versions in all my study that I would say they're actually the closest, the closest translations from the original Greek. So that's a good thing. And then they're also very easy to understand. They're written in like, they're not a King James, very, flowery, using words that we don't know. They're very easy to understand. And then the other one, and and it's not maybe one that I recommend a lot, but if you're like, that's still too much and you picked up an NIV, I just want you reading the Bible, right? So that would be another one, NIV. But if you got on Amazon or something and Googled ESV or NASB, those are good ones.
Okay. And there's apps for those too.
Oh,
right?
yeah. So great idea. So you can go right on your phone, your iPad. My favorite app to recommend for that is called, if you just put in the Bible, just say Bible app, search Bible app, and it'll come up. It's called YouVersion. It's a little brown Bible, and it's great. It will read to you. It has devotionals in there. It's got all kinds of, you pick the version, you can find the version in there. You can download them. So if you don't have reception, you can read them. So yeah, you don't even have to go buy a Bible.
Okay. Then somewhat on that topic, I'll skip question 2 because that was a rabbit hole. Number 3, I've got written down, a lot of people out there think that they're so broken that they but they don't dare go to church. They're so messed up. It's like, no, I'm so messed up I can't go to church. I need to fix myself before I go to church.
Right.
I'm speaking from experience, as you can tell.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? I kind of have an idea of where you're going to go because we've talked about this in the past on another podcast. But what are your recommendations there? This dude is down on the dumps and doesn't want to live, whatever.
Well, let me start with this. Church isn't going to fix you, and you know that. Yep. Church isn't going to fix you. But if you don't know anybody in your life who has a relationship with God, if you know another Christian, somebody in your life that has a relationship with God and is actively living it, go talk to them. That's my first suggestion, and have them tell you about the Lord. If you don't have that, go find a good church. And I know you probably are thinking, well, I don't know what a good church is. Well, the church is you'll know, I think, when there's different teaching that you agree with and but go find a good church, and they're going to be able to, you'll find people there that can help you study the Bible and understand who God is. The reason I say church isn't going to fix you, church is extremely important, but the Lord is the one that changes us, right? The Lord is the one that gives us new life. Just going to church is not good enough. We need to repent and believe, right? And get new life. So that's the only reason I want to just kind of call that out so that somebody doesn't think, well, just going to church is going to fix everything, because it's not. But putting all that together, I would say this is, you don't go to the doctor. Well, we might go to the doctor when we're healthy, but we don't go, well, I don't feel good. My leg's broken. It's swinging in 5 directions, but I'm going to wait till it heals up a little more before I go to the doctor. We never would do that.
Right.
But we do that with God. We do that with church. We say we're going to clean ourselves up. We have no power to clean ourselves up. The Bible tells us in Romans that nobody is good. Nobody chooses to do good on our own. We are nothing. Ephesians, Colossians, it talks about the fact that we're dead in our sin. So as a non-believer, we're dead. Before Christ, we're dead. And in this world, if you're listening to this podcast, you are a first responder. You understand that a dead person can't help themselves, right? When we get called to CPR, if they called, they classed out after they called. Otherwise, they did not even call for help. And that's the way it is in our Christian life. So we need somebody to come in. Literally what I'm trying to say is there's nothing we can do to clean ourselves up. You might be able to stop some bad habits along the way, but that's not going to fix it. And there's no reason to do that. Just come. I hear a lot of people say, well, come as you are. Jesus accepts you as you are. Well, he does. He accepts us where we are is a better way to put it.
Right.
Because he doesn't want us to stay where we are, and he will change us and help us grow.
Okay. So
did that answer your question
that
well
did.
enough?
Okay. That did. I'm trying to make them easy on you. I don't want to get fired. So then let's say we'll go on the chaplain side of things. When you get called to an emergency event, and let's say it's me, because you're on Solinus or chaplain.
Right.
But you don't respond to calls.
Right.
Unless you're sitting in my office or you're in the area kind of situation.
Right. Otherwise, unless I'm requested. Yep.
So I make a phone call. I need Solon 99 to respond. Something bad's happened. So what does that involve for you? You're sitting here getting ready for church. You're studying. You're doing your thing for church. And you get a phone call from me that says, I need your help.
Yep.
What's your process after that?
Generally, it is immediately a pit in the stomach for one thing, because usually when chaplain is called, it's bad. Somebody has either died or near death, and then it's not even just that. Generally, it also means that the family isn't handling it well, right? It's when a chaplain gets called to a scene, it's often the worst of the worst. So I know right away that I'm walking into something not good. I don't always know exactly what, because sometimes you don't give me all that information because you just need me to be on the way. Mm-hmm. Often when you call, because you've called before, since I've been up here, and I'll hear the wail in the background, right? That's unnerving, right? You know that if anybody's watched it, anyway, yeah. So all this starts to play in immediately. And I love being a chaplain. I don't love that part of it. So, there's kind of a nervousness. I always feel incredibly, not ready, not like, what am I ever going to do kind of thing? Because in that moment, there's really not much you can do. So that's kind of all the thoughts and the feelings that go immediately through my mind. And then generally in that situation, it's just the same as if I got a fire call for here, to respond. I'm going to respond immediately because I know you guys need me right away. And it's a little bit of a drive from here to there. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to respond immediately. I may quick run home and grab my radio if I don't have it, just so that we can communicate. I'll call my wife, let her know where I'm going, and then I'm on the road. And as soon as I hit the road, I'm praying. I'm praying for you guys. I'm praying for just that the Lord would give me wisdom, not having any idea what I'm walking into and how I'm going to walk through this.
Okay. So a lesson I just took from that is don't call you and just say, I need you. Do my best. Like a scene size up. Everybody,
right.
If you're a firefighter, you know what a scene size up is.
Right.
So it would be best. So if you're listening and you call your chaplain, let them know that what has happened is X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
Because then you have a little idea. Am I going into a basement fire? Am I going into a propane truck fire, hazmat situation? So you've got a little more preparedness.
Did a baby die? Did an 80-year-old person die? Who knows, right? But whatever it is, give me that size up. Do you need me for the victim? Do you need me for another firefighter? Sometimes I don't even know that. Okay. Right? So
that's a mental note.
Scene size up is always helpful.
Okay.
So shall I finish that out just so people who don't understand? I'm just thinking through still. You made me really think that as soon as I get on scene, because this really isn't different than if you're responding, if you're second due engine, what are you going to do? You're going to get out and you're going to go see command. Well, it's the same for me. As soon as I get there, I'm going to go find you. I'm going to go find whoever called me. I'm going to go find command. What do you need? That I'm going to get an even, if you haven't briefed me, that's where I'm going to get my brief, or at least a more detailed brief to have an understanding. And then often you will take me and introduce me, so I'm not just another stranger walking up to the person.
Okay. All right. We'll make it a little bit lighter. So most people, I shouldn't generalize. So the way I wrote it is, listeners may know that in the fire service, we tend to have our favorite types of calls. Mm-hmm. Like mine's ice rescue, and I love wildland fires. And if people, and I've not gotten much either. Yeah. Hey, there's nothing wrong with either one of those. I like ropes and knots too, but I wasn't going to advertise that because I probably got everybody to go like, oh.
Yeah.
And if people have listened to the podcast, they know that you like vehicle extrication.
Yeah.
It's a puzzle. You love the the thought process, the how am I going to get to this? Well, I can't get to this because this is in the way. So it's just a real challenge, a mental challenge for you, and you really enjoy that. So in the church, and you don't have to answer this. You can plead the fifth or say pass. What in the church are some of your favorite things? Because I got to believe that this job, I can't say that this job is like a lot of other jobs, but to generalize it, I've got to believe that there are some things here that aren't as enjoyable for you, just like the last topic.
Right.
When somebody calls and needs you, you're like, oh, this is not my favorite thing.
Right.
But like when you do your podcast with Scott about Awana, that's another plug. Go to that one.
Yeah. Well, they'll find that on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yep.
So when you do Awana and that kind of stuff and dealing with the kids, I've got to believe that that's fun. But what are some of your favorite?
Actually, it's not.
Maybe not.
I don't enjoy the little kids as much.
Okay. So what are some of your favorite things? Like if you're leaving the house, you're on the way here, what are you going like, oh yeah, I can't. Yes, tonight's the night I get to.
Yeah.
Is there something that's favorite or is it kind of all?
Yeah, there's definitely favorites. I think so. Let's compare it to the fire service because everybody is this way. You love the job.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no dig at the job. You love the job. There's just certain things you
like more.
And there are things that you're kind of like, I don't like this. I'll give you a freebie. I'll give you one of those. I don't enjoy counseling people and that sounds weird as a chaplain, right? Because I do that as well. But like when there's an issue in somebody's life and they come and sit in my office and we have to work through that, that's just not my favorite thing to do. Some people really enjoy that. That is not my favorite thing to do.
But you're good at it because you dealt with me for
5-6
years now.
Yeah, but that's different. So that goes to one of my favorite things would be discipling people. So just that one-on-one, teaching them the Bible, doing life with them. So yeah, it's interesting you say that because I don't see it as counseling you. We're just doing life together, right? We're studying the Bible. We're learning. We're growing together. So yeah, it is counseling, but
you don't look at it.
But I don't see it that way. That's just a part of the process of life. Yeah. So to answer the question, the best way is probably my very favorite thing is teaching and preaching. I love to teach and preach. I used to not enjoy teaching part of it. I like to preach. And since I've been here, I've really grown into enjoying teaching. I think I've gotten to be a better teacher. I'm not saying I'm the best teacher, but I enjoy doing those things. I enjoy being able to teach people the Bible and then see them respond to that. That's far and above that, and discipling people are my two favorite things overall, completely.
Okay. Now this is going to be this one you can use a pass on if you want to.
You'd be making it too easy on me.
No, because we talked about earlier about an idea for a podcast that we might have done tonight.
Oh, yes.
And you've been so busy, you hadn't had time to prepare for it the way you wanted to. And that kind of fed my pea brain into coming up with this question.
Okay.
So, I wrote down, in a future show, we'll be talking about popular Bible verses used in the fire service that don't necessarily mean what we think.
Right.
And that's what we were going to talk about in a podcast. People have a tendency, just like anything, and I hate to use politics. I'd really love to keep politics out of here. But when you see some commercials, you see the person say this.
Right.
But if you read the whole speech or saw the whole speech, that's snippet
not what
had
they said.
Nothing to do with what they're saying.
Yep.
So off the top of your hat, what verse in the fire service? Wow, I wrote that wrong. Where's spell check? What verse off the top of your head is your favorite fire service related Bible verse? And that being said is you're going to make T-shirts for Howard City or Grand Rapids, and you want to put a Bible verse on there.
Let's see.
What one is your favorite?
It would probably have to be. Let me see here. I'm trying to get it here because if I quote it, I'm gonna mess it up. So keep talking there, Chief.
I thought you'd have it off the top of your head.
Well, I think I do. I just don't want to mess up I don't want to mess up the passage here.
I know that there's a famous one that you and I talked about earlier, and I read into that deeper myself to get a little quicker education, and I get what it means. As you know, I've got one on the back of my business card.
I'm trying to remember which one you have on the back of your business card.
Joshua 1:9.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Oh, you're waiting for me to tell you what your favorite.
Tell me what my favorite is.
Yeah. Here.
Yes, Joshua 1:9. So that's mine. So I have a years and years ago. I bought when I first got in the fire service. I bought it's like a dog tag. I don't remember where I bought, a company that did it for soldiers and firefighters, and the proceeds went to help fallen soldiers. So I bought one, and it has hung from the mirror in my car for, I was thinking today, I'm almost 14 years, I think. So that's about 14 years. And on the other side, it has the same verse, Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous, do not be frightened, do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And that is a verse that, it applies to everything in life. God is with me everywhere. You can find that in Matthew. That's a New Testament verse, a New Testament promise as well, that God will go with you everywhere. But that's one that I always enjoy, that I always remember. I just wanted to make sure that I was giving the right address, as we call it, right? It was actually Joshua 1:9. But so yeah, that's my favorite fire service verse.
And you are doing so much better than I thought you were going to. I figured that each of these topics would be 10 minutes. I got one last question for you.
I was trying to keep us moving. All of these I could talk on forever.
Oh, I know. And we can go back too. But one thing I know, not just as you're my disciple and a good friend and all of that stuff, but in the EMS, most of the time, we don't know the difference that we've made in somebody's life. Mm-hmm. We run that call. We load them in the back of what you lovingly call the boo-boo bus. And they go woo-woo to the ambulance. And we don't know. They had a pulse when they got in the back of the truck. Yep. Did they live? Didn't they live? Those kind of things. And we never know. So in the last few years since COVID, God's put on your heart for the YouTube stuff.
Yes.
You open up your ministry. I would ask everybody to go back to some of your first YouTube videos and look at what you started with. You started with, if I remember right, probably that iPad.
No.
And an Apple phone.
I didn't even have this iPad. I had a worse iPad.
Yeah, and that's what you did.
Yep.
But in the end, now you've got a beautiful studio and
couple of studios.
Yeah,
now.
Three.
Three, yeah.
So you've got all of that stuff. So the Lord's put it on you, and you're just trying to hit it out of the park. So like in the EMS, we don't always know what our results are.
Right.
What our effects are. Did we change somebody's life? Did we not change anybody's life? So on the YouTube aspect, I know that you're a data-driven guy. You know the algorithms,
Right.
I put my keywords on there, and if it hits it out of the park, yay, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you watch those things. You look at the likes. You look at the subscriptions and all that, because you're trying to get the word spread out. And you're trying to figure out how to hit those algorithms to grow, get the word out. And unfortunately, I don't know if I can say this about YouTube, it seems like the algorithms are against you.
Yeah.
It's like if you were to make your YouTube channel and slam other pastors about, look at what this guy's saying. Oh my Lord. If you went down the Joel Osteen thing or went into politics, your subscribers would probably quadruple overnight.
Right. Negativity sells. Yep.
Your views would go through the roof.
Yep.
So with that, and I have no idea. I don't keep track. I know that Tuesday I wait for your One Take Tuesday that, by the way, didn't come out this week.
Not every Tuesday, no.
So,
but you got one Monday.
That's true, but that don't count. That's just a bonus. So in that, you don't always get the opportunity. You don't get the feedback that you've changed somebody's life.
Right.
Now, like I'll use myself in this example. You know the mess I was in. And the viewers know a very little bit of what happened. But you can see that change.
Yes.
Not complete, but you can see that change. YouTube, you don't, unless people put a comment in there, you're not getting the feedback that, hey, thank you so much. I was so down in the dumps. So with that, you're not getting any feedback. I mean, you're putting these YouTube channels out there. You're putting your heart and soul into it. You put a lot of your own money into it. You're probably one of the only people that I know of that probably worries about whether his microphone sounds good or not. You know, all of those things, you worry about that because you're trying to represent the Lord the best you can and get that out there to as many people as you can. What keeps you motivated? And, you know, whatever the word is, I put on here, what drives you or motivates you to keep working on the channel and continue to work on it, making it better and better, even though you're not getting, and I don't want to say a pat on the back, but you're not getting necessarily positive feedback other than somebody hits the thumbs up button.
Yeah.
Well, I hit the thumbs up button every time I watch one for the simple fact that I love all the videos. But that doesn't necessarily tell you that that particular video changed my life. So you're not getting that feedback. So what makes you, I know today that you've got 1 or 2 videos that you still have to edit. It's 6:30 at night. You got this podcast to edit. You're pulling a 24 for the full-time station tomorrow.
Yep. So I got to be in early.
So you're going to be up till 10 o'clock tonight getting this. So what drives you? Why do you not just go, you know what? I've had enough. This isn't working out. I'm not hitting it out of the ballpark like I should. And there's no reason you're not. The algorithms are what's fighting you.
Right.
The message is clear. Everything that you're doing is right.
I just talked to somebody about that the other day, and I said, because I use a program you can put in like a title, and it will tell you, it'll give you a score, and it'll score different areas, and it'll get, I'll think, okay, I'm going to talk about this, and I'll put it in, and it'll give you good, everything's good except nobody's even looking for that topic. So that's, you know, so a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, it's biblical, right? Mm-hmm. Wide is the gate that leads to destruction, narrow is the road that leads to the Lord. So there's just not a lot of people out there looking for, even in the Christian world, unfortunately, they're looking for negative stuff. They're looking for all that. So they're just not looking for what I'm trying to give them. So I still get frustrated or even discouraged with that, but not as much as I used to. I've really come to a place now where it just is what it is. I'm just going to do the best that I can for the Lord. So to answer your question, what keeps me motivated? Let me give you the more selfish, the more selfish physical like reason, and then I'll give you the good reason. So for one thing, I do have a lot of money in this podcast, right? We know, you and I know that there are times that we're just busy and it's hard to sit down and make this podcast. And same thing, right? We don't get the views that everybody does. We don't get the listens that everybody does. And we have no idea what this podcast is doing for people, which, by the way, if you're watching or listening, leave a comment and tell us how this has encouraged you. If you're listening, go over to the YouTube and find it on YouTube and leave a comment there. Tell us if we've encouraged you or helped you. But anyways, I then think about the microphones and everything. Like, we've got money invested in this. I've got a lot of money invested in cameras and mics in my studio. I can't just throw that away. They often say on YouTube, like, don't invest all that money until your channel takes off. Well, it's actually kept me going because there's times I've thought maybe I should just hang it up. Well, I can't because I've invested. I'm invested, right, from that standpoint. So there's that side of it. The other side is you just kind of always think, you know what? Maybe this video will hit, right? Maybe one will hit and things will take off. But those aren't the main reasons because those are just the selfish physical reasons. I am very determined that God this is what God has for me. That this is part, not every pastor needs to be on YouTube, but I think any pastor that can be should be on YouTube. I really believe that. It has been highly valuable for our church people. I get comments from people here and there. I run into people that I know that I haven't seen in forever that they're like, oh, I watch your videos. I have EMTs, paramedics that work that I work with, and even know, and then they're like, "Hey, you sure like your videos. I watch all your videos." Right? It's those comments when you run into people and they tell you, and you don't have any idea who's watching or what the impact is. So knowing that, yes, this is what the Lord has for me to do. I also love it. I love the creativity. I wish I had more time. Really, you say, what are my favorite things to do? This is one of them. And so I wish I had more time to be more creative to put into that. But here's the thing. So you talked about my channel being small. My channel is small. So I often don't share these because it's almost seems embarrassing in a sense, because it's so small. But it's not small when you have the right perspective. So I just hit 20,000 hours watched. Okay. And that's doesn't seem like a lot because big channels have, hundreds of thousands of hours watched. But from the perspective of me, a preacher, when I preach a sermon, I preach about 45 minutes.
On a short day.
On a short day.
I'll throw that in there for the people that come to church.
Right. So now you figure that out. I sent that to one of our guys in church when I hit that milestone, because YouTube gives you a little digital plaque, right? Like, hey, and I save those because I enjoy those. I enjoy going back to the very early ones, and that keeps me encouraged as well. But I sent that to one of the guys in our church, and he fairly promptly replied, "Do you realize that's 50 years worth of regular weekly sermons?"
Wow.
So now you think about the investment. How do I not do that?
Right.
How do I not keep doing that? And that's small. That's not even a big, that my channel hasn't even taken off. It just consistently slowly grows. But I'm not worried about that. It's like anything else. I've had to come to the place and realize I'm doing the absolute very best that I can do. The rest is up to the Lord.
Okay. You're firing these off way too quick. I figured by now we'd be done and out of time. Another one, and it's more, again, fire related, because I've seen it. I know I've done it. Fire service has its own little language. Chaplain walks in the door and the language changes. You know it. You see it.
You were that guy one time.
I was, yes, sir.
At one time. Yep. Not just one time, but at one time.
So the question is you're doing a fire department related event. People are talking in what I call a non-Christian way. Something that's maybe not necessarily inappropriate, but not like you should be. What are your thoughts and feelings about that? I mean, and then does that offend you personally when you hear that?
Doesn't offend me personally. Now, firehouse talk can get even a little over the top, right? We know that. And there are times I will, if it gets over the top, I'll walk away. I don't need to be a part of that. When it's just general, swearing, that kind of thing, that doesn't offend me. I don't use that language. But Scripture talks about the fact that an unsaved person, the world, didn't know any better. I've told this story before. I remember more than once walking in on a Thursday night for training, walking into the fire department, into the firehouse, and you and a bunch of other people will be standing around talking, and you'd go, "Shh, chaplain's coming," and you guys would change the subject. I never thought twice. You didn't know the Lord, right? That was you were just doing what you knew to do. Now, if I walk in and you do that, you're probably going to hear something from me.
Write that down. Thursday training. And what's training Thursday? This
Thursday.
Week from tomorrow.
Oh, a week from today. I'm not going to be there. It's Wildland training. Yeah,
the crowd goes wild,
except for this guy. So no, it doesn't offend me. He's just.
But do you make like a? Do I say a mental note? Do you kind of say things like, "I really need to pray a little bit more for that guy"? maybe when I get the chance to pull him off to the side, maybe I need to work on him a little bit more? Or do you kind of see us all the same, that you pray for all of us anyways?
Pray for
doesn't
you all
matter,
the
good, bad, or otherwise.
Yeah. The way I do it is just, I'm not going to force myself on anybody, right? I pray for God to open doors. And when he opens a door, I'm probably going to stick my foot in there at that point. But I'm not going to try to pry a door open, because all that's going to do is push you away. If I would have done that,
I was just going to ask you, how many years did it take you to get me to open the door?
Right. It took a while. It took.
When did you start?
So I'm coming up on 14 years, and I started praying. I started praying for everybody kind of in general, even before I got on the department. With you, I started, and we might not have ever even had this conversation. I knew that you were struggling a little bit more. I think maybe Joyce had kind of said something about it, but it didn't take me long to figure out that because of, and if they don't know, go listen to the podcast that's early on that you talk about your story. We're not going to rehash that here. But I knew that that was just weeks before me getting on the department. So I knew that you had you were taking it hard. So I prayed often extra for you, just because I knew you were having it hard. I don't know if you remember, but there was probably quite a few times, because you used to like to take drives, right? You'd just get in the car and go. That was kind of how you dealt with it. And I would pretty often tell you, hey, call me, I'll ride with you. I'll just go with you. Right. You didn't know then, but I was thinking, yeah, get me in the car with him. Now we'll have an opportunity to talk here. Like,
right.
I mean, I'm not going to just talk unless you bring it up, but that was my thinking.
Right.
Or if you open the door. Right. So anyway, so I had actually moved up here and been up here a little while. I'm trying to think. I think I told somebody, we figured this out, that it was like 7 or 8 years that I had known you. And I kind of chuckled when you asked, hey, what would you recommend for a Bible?
You mean question number one?
Yeah.
The irony.
Because that was the question you text me, and that was the door that opened for me. And we hadn't talked in a little while then. You weren't chief. You were...
I might not have even been at the station then.
No, you were not at the station then.
Right.
You had taken pictures for us. So if people who don't know, Rich is a photographer and takes great pictures, but we also always intentionally asked you to take our pictures because I wanted to keep that relationship going, right? That was just another opportunity to let you know I'm there. Right. And so, and it was then you took those pictures that you told me you were going to be quitting. You were going to be resigning, retiring, whatever. Right. That didn't last long.
No.
But anyways, so from there, then it was well after that you text me and you asked me what would I use if you were going to, you said if you were going to buy a Bible, or if I was going to buy a Bible, I think you said, what should I buy? And I told you, and in fact, I said, I don't ever tell people when I tell the story, I never tell them what version, but since you asked the question, we talked about it. I told you, hey, get an ESV. That's going to be an easier one for you to understand. And then I followed that up, right? I said, the door's open. I'm going to stick my foot in there. So the next question that I text to you was, when you get your Bible, do you want to do a Bible study? Right. So now the door is open. Yep. Now I see the Lord's working in your heart.
But I didn't unchain the door quite so easy.
No.
Because it was maple syrup season, if I remember right.
Right. It was. So, and you made me wait a while.
Right.
And I was afraid that you were going to, say no.
Second thoughts.
Right. Yeah. So, right. Well, I suppose we probably should wrap her up. How many more questions you got?
None.
We made it. I can't believe we made it.
I came up with what, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I thought, PJ is a good talker. Each one of those questions is going to be worth about 10 minutes of explanation, but you did a really good job on keeping it short and to the point. I know you're good at that. So if people have other questions that are a lot more in depth, then
Oh, we got little kids singing us out now too. If they can, I'm sure they can hear that on here.
You want me to open the door? No, that could be our outro music.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks everybody for watching and listening. And remember, Crazy Jake's.
Yeah, go check out Red Flannel Coffee. Order yourself some Red Flannel Coffee.
Now, I know that it's not proven. This isn't like an FDA proven thing, and I don't know if there's like a World Coffee Association or anything, but do you think drinking that stuff helps your beard?
We'll find out one of these days. I have a feeling.
We got to get Jake in here. We've got to get Jake in here. People really need to meet Jake and understand the story behind him. And then even if you don't like coffee, you might
just go buy some coffee. Yep, we need to get Jake lined up for an interview.
That's right. So Jake, leave a comment down below. We do recordings on Wednesday night.
Tell us when you're going to come and sit in the studio with us. And those kids are loud.
Yep, sing it.
They are singing and having a good time.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, and we'll talk to you in the next episode. Hopefully, we've got 2 in a row down now. Rich, we're doing good. We'll see you in the next one, and we also have a guest lined up coming up towards the end of the month.
Yes,
excited about that.
Yes, that'll be a good one.
All right, maybe we just need to interview all these kids they're listening to.
I think maybe next week we need to have them sing a song for us. I think the kids would really like it.
It is here recording in my little church office here, and the kids are in the next room doing kids programs. So
that's right.
That's our sign that we went long.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Make sure you subscribe, share this. You know all the stuff to do. Talk to you later.